I find myself making more pens these days, and to press the parts together I've been using a pistol grip clamp. That's worked well, but I thought I could do something better. There are plenty of pen presses out on the market, but they can be pretty pricey. I purchased a horizontal toggle clamp for about $9 on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description just in case you're interested in making your own pen press. I marked a couple of lines for a dado. Since I can't run a dado stack on my table saw, I'll use my crosscut sled and make several passes until I sneak up on the cut and get a perfect fit. I cut all my pieces to rough dimensions. Off camera, I cut this profile on the back fence of the pen press. Yours can look however you want. I set the toggle clamp in place and used a piece of cardboard to create a template. The idea is that the spacer would be able to rotate in and out of the path of the toggle clamp. Once everything was lining up, I marked the position of the spacer with the screwdriver, making a small indentation. I measured the length I needed for the 3/16 rod and cut it with a hacksaw. To finalize the shape of the spacers, I traced the cardboard template onto the pieces I rough cut earlier. I cut the pieces on the bandsaw and cleaned them up on the belt sander. I was eager to try the first dry assembly. This paid off because I realized I needed to break those corners just a little bit more. I took a little bit of sandpaper and rounded over those corners, and everything was working perfectly. The spacers are slightly under 3/4 of an inch. The toggle clamp has 1 inch of travel, plus a fine adjustment in the form of a screw. For a little extra support, I cut some small pieces and used them as braces on the back of the fence. Making sure that back fence was square, I glued and clamped it in place. After applying boiled linseed oil, I figured I was pretty much done at this point, but I couldn't leave well enough alone. I decided to add a handle to the toggle clamp. I used a knife to remove the cheap plastic grip from the toggle clamp. Using some leftover pieces of wood, I created a blank, glued it, and clamped it in place. Once the glue dried, I trimmed the ends off the blank and drilled a hole in the center of one of the ends. I chucked the blank up on the lathe and began by turning it round. I'll be using a piece of aluminum tubing as a ferrule. After measuring the inside diameter of the ferrule, I took a carbide cutter and brought it down to the final dimension. I spread some 5-minute epoxy on the end and slid the ferrule in place. I'll bring the tailstock back in and turn it to the final shape. After elongating the hole to fit the toggle clamp handle, I used some 5-minute epoxy to lock it all into place. Now I'm ready for final assembly. I used some CA glue and accelerator to hold the end cap in place just long enough for me to secure it with a couple of screws from the underside. I found a couple of small pieces of HDPE lying around the shop, and I figured I would use these to keep the pen parts from being damaged. I used one as a spacer and one as a bushing for the toggle clamp. I'm really happy with the pen press. It works great. I can't wait to get a lot more use out of this thing. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one.